While the ANC and its babies have been destroying the country with their incompetence, laziness, ignorance, communism, racism, and corruption, the fruits of their labor are getting bolder and bolder. Previously, people like the EFF were the types you expected to hear the vile racist statements from. Now, with the rise of podcasts, we have more and more insane statements being made online because everyone has a mic now. Everyone can simply record and post anything now. The caliber of our podcasters is so weak that any guest is allowed to just come there and say anything, and no one will say, wait a minute, you might be wrong here. The evidence says this and that. In this case, you will see exactly that from DJ Sbu. He simply sits there like a statue while his guest spews the most disgusting things you will ever hear anyone say.
So the problem that South Africans have right now is that we don't understand white people. White people are inferior species to us. We are Homo sapiens.
Okay, where's the host of the channel to say, whoa, hold the brakes, we don't support racism on this channel? Or say, you know what, let's have a discussion, convince me. He simply sits there trying to collect subscribers and views. Listen to this evil mind.
They've got Neanderthal blood in them. This is the science. And this is not science that was done by black people. It was done by them. You understand? Abu Clive W. Lewis, they were eugenicists. They studied this. And they realized that they're inferior to blacks.
Margaret Sanger from the US.
Well, I mean, she was more about controlling the birth of blacks.
Bill Gates.
Yeah. But the reason why they did
eugenics,
that... Eugenics, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So
imagine that. He calls this science. When you give fools and lunatics microphones, this is what you get. He says black people are Homo sapien and white people are inferior Neanderthals. He names Clive Derby Lewis and says they studied this and found that they were inferior. First of all, Clive Derby Lewis was simply an apartheid-era politician. He was one of the people that carried out the murder of Chris Hani.
The big important question is, why did you kill Chris Hani?
Chris Hani was a hardline communist who was determined at all costs, even to laying the country to waste, to achieve his political aims. He was a radical. He was uncontrollable by the ANC hired authorities. He was a man who targeted civilians in preference to military targets. And as far as we were concerned, he was public enemy number one.
The man died of cancer after serving 2 decades in prison. When this Nota guy mentioned it, I thought he was talking about a scientist who was into the real studies of human origins. He says white people are Neanderthals based on whatever Clive Derby Lewis studied. We will not waste much time on that. The story about Neanderthals and Homo sapiens is 100% a lie. Have you ever met people that talk fast and try to sound very knowledgeable about stuff they barely have a clue about? The type that uses different ideas from unrelated stories to build a Frankenstein monster. He is one of them, a liar of the highest order. In the fake science of evolution, which is based on people like Charles Darwin, the Neanderthal is an earlier version of human beings. Human beings right now are what they call Homo sapien. It's basically satanic science. At the end of the day, just know that all human beings, whether blacks or whites or coloreds or Asians or whatever you call yourself, you were created by God in His image and you did not evolve. Okay? Do you know what is funny to me? The Neanderthal white person who is inferior to white people, aka Homo sapiens, managed to build ships. He sailed all the way to South Africa and the Americas. He found us living in houses made of sticks, grass, and mud, dressed in strips of leather. He found us unable to read and taught us to read and write. Who should be calling who inferior here? You use a microphone made by them. You use a cell phone made by them. You are posting this racist nonsense on YouTube made by them. Who is inferior here? He goes on to say this.
The waist to hip ratio determines how well a woman is able to give birth. And we've got the highest waist to hip ratio in the world. You know what I mean? Women have got small waists and really big hips or big bums or whatever the case may be. White women cannot carry births the same way black women can. They're inferior in that way. Why is it inferior? Because, God said Zalana Nandi. Right? So if you're not making babies, your nation is going to get smaller. The white population is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking.
DJ Sbu sitting there agreeing to everything as usual. Guys, this thing of treating celebs as if they know something is ridiculous and it needs to stop. Look at him, just sitting there while his guest goes on and on lying and being racist. Imagine how dumb one has to be to believe this nonsense, or how cowardly one has to be to know that this is not true, but fail to call the liar out. This is similar to people who will say there are more beautiful women in this country or that country. All races have good-looking people and ugly people, curvy and skinny women. All races have tall people and short people. All races have women with bodies of all kinds of shapes and sizes. He makes it seem like white people's population being dwarfed by the other races is some kind of sign that white people cannot carry babies. I mean, the fact is, the habit of making babies is not a sport. You have to feed them. You have to guide and discipline them. Give them the mindset, resources, and opportunities to thrive and be their best. It's not a matter of making the most babies. It's a matter of raising the best adults.
God said Zalana Nandi.
These kinds of statements are typically found in the mouths of people who want to encourage promiscuity. They love quoting the Bible verses that they can use to justify their sins that they love committing. One thing you may not know or may not like to admit is that white people are not falling in number due to hips and waists. It is because the men and women have prioritized careers over settling down. Most couples want 2 or 3 children maximum. Others are choosing to have only 1. It is a choice. Meanwhile, look at the abortions among the black communities, whether in South Africa or America. Look at the teenage pregnancies among the black populations. It's these hip to weight ratios, man. They keep getting us pregnant, What is happening to white people is also happening to some Asian countries. Black people still give birth like our ancestors did, but our ancestors had no choice. Not only were there no contraceptives, but they had to have a big family in order to be productive on their lands or in whatever trade that they chose. Today, things are different. Most white people chose their careers and hence they are not multiplying like black people. They will regret it, of course. I mean, right now in South Africa, there are small numbers accounting against them when it comes to the ballots. One of the modern benefits of growing in numbers is when it comes to voting. Right now, it's about the voting bloc.
We're dealing with the weakest whites that the world has ever seen. And again, I want to explain this so that people don't think that, I'm being racist by saying whites are inferior genetically. We've got different categories of evolution of apes. You know what I mean? If we are all apes, we are at the echelon of that. Whites are a step below because they've also got Neanderthal DNA. You know what I mean? Which is a previous ancestor of ours. So we expect to have Ubuntu, humanity. Unfortunately, by the strictest definition of what a human being is, white people are just below human beings. You are negotiating with an animal, a wild dog that you're trying to train to be tamed, to be ubobi. You who guards your house. You can never do that.
Thus said the human being as he spoke into the microphone made by the inferior Neanderthal for the superior human being to also utilize. You are racist and you know it.
So we're expecting Ubuntu from them. We're like, you stole our land, you butchered our people and everything else. And we just want justice. We're not out for your blood. We're not chopping off your heads. We're not doing anything. Why don't you guys understand that? Why don't you guys have Ubuntu? Why don't you guys have a heart? They don't, because they're incapable of that. You cannot expect the same behavior of a human being that you're expecting of a dog. You understand what I'm saying? Like if a dog chews up your couch, you're not going to beat your dog because he chewed up your couch. You know what I mean? You're going to be like, damn, why didn't I lock the dog somewhere where it can't chew up the couch? So us as black people, we need to now start being smarter. We need to start understanding what we're dealing with. Because we're not dealing with a who. We're dealing with a what.
Imagine a grown man, aka Homo sapien, who was likely born in a hospital built by the dogs, aka Neanderthal. They ignore everything that the ANC failed to do to secure the land, and they keep blaming white people for not giving up land. All the hectares that the ANC has sitting idle. All the botched land restitution claims where the people still sit poor just as before. And it is still white people's fault.
And when we deal with this what of savages, because that's their history, everywhere in the world white people have gone and progressed. They've progressed because of savagery. They've killed people. They've decimated populations everywhere, around the entire globe. There's not a place where the sun shines that white people have not decimated the people. In the world, you go to Australia, they decimated the natives. You go to America, they removed the natives completely to a small minority. Even there's more African Americans than Native Americans. That's the whole entire point. So we now want to say, oh no, be sensible. They will lie.
Imagine that. Killing is what humans have been doing throughout history. That is what they have been doing since the first humans on Earth. Stealing and killing is not unique to one race. That is a story of mankind. We put laws in place in order to stop that. We became civilized and called ourselves communities, villages, or nations in order to protect ourselves from exactly that. There is no innocent race on earth. Genocides have been committed by blacks on blacks, whites on whites, and interracially. The same goes for conquests. The Indians were just as brutal as the Europeans. Humans are sometimes bad, but they can be nice too. These white Neanderthals enslaved black people and conquered many lands. Yet the later generations of those same white people decided to be equal to those Homo sapiens that were superior. Imagine, at different times of history, the Neanderthals could have wiped black people off the face of the earth. In fact, some of them can still do it now, and because most of the African leaders have not done their work well over the decades, there is absolutely nothing significant that black people can do about it, except guerrilla warfare, which we will still fail at anyway, especially without the handouts from the same Neanderthals and the Chinese. We as Africans will never have peace in our nations if we keep entertaining fools like these ones. We as South Africans keep being divided by race because of these racist voices. Podcasters need to be ashamed for even allowing fools like these to be posted from their platforms without any pushback. DJ Sbu is just sitting there like a stone. It's content. This is what they say. It's all about the content, the views and the subscribers. We need to make content no matter what. So this is what we post.
We need to also teach white people Ubuntu. It's not in their nature. We need to teach them. We can't say, guys, Ubuntu, come on. Don't you get it? No, they don't get it. They will never get it. They're not the same level of human beings we are. So we need to start treating them like infants. When you see an Elon Musk, you see the richest man in the world. No, you should look at him and say, this is the richest baby in the world. You understand? And siyahluleka as black people. Like, seriously, siyahluleka.
Sbu just laughs. No questions are being asked. No pushback. There is no questioning of anything that this wayward mouth spews. Dear viewer, always remember this. All evil is found in all nations. The same is true for all good. This Ubuntu thing he's talking about is found in many communities across the world.
And that's what's leaving us behind. We're better than white people at everything that we do, that they do.
Imagine, take a moment to think about that statement honestly. Honestly. Majority of our modern system and industries were built by them or brought here by them. If not them, then China. Look at the technologies that the world is consuming right now. Who is making them? Either Asia or the Neanderthals are doing it. Meanwhile, Homo sapiens have only been exporting unrefined minerals. Instead of working on mineral refinement, technological advancements, we are elevating the most useless characters from among us. Like this guy being brought onto this channel. Just like how so many people are subscribed to this DJ Sbu channel. Just like how we elevate the twerkers and the internet prostitutes. Mind you, there are many great black people, those with the knowledge and the skills, the high IQs, the brilliant ideas and solutions. Who is elevating the best among the black people? Who is making a plan to elevate the great minds among the black people? Very few people come to mind.
Better than them at every single thing. Every single thing. The best person in every single thing that both black people and white do is black. Everything. Every single thing. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow. This guy was having the best day of his life. Imagine these so-called Neanderthals built rockets. They built computers, cell phones, televisions. They built submarines. They electrified the world and connected it via the internet. All the Homo sapiens, aka black people, have done is use that infrastructure. Imagine the audacity of someone so insignificant in the face of the great achievements of mankind saying these things. When it comes to how to teach white people Ubuntu, this fool had this to say.
So that's what we need. And the only guy that we have right now is Siya Kolisi. Siya Kolisi is the only black that's teaching these whites Ubuntu. Started by sharing uRachel nabantwana abaningi qale lapho wamthoba kancane wamfundisa Ubuntu.
Hi guys, this Sbu guy is useless, Mos. Sbu is a pathetic podcaster. Shame, shame, shame. Siya Kolisi taught his wife Ubuntu by making her have children and then leaving her. According to this racist sapien, that is a sign of Ubuntu. Where is DJ Sbu to bring this fool to order? Leaving Rachel with a bunch of kids is Ubuntu. So this is the Ubuntu that this sapien has been talking about all this while. Hey. So make sure that we are all clear here. All people of all races are simply human beings. We are the race of mankind. We were created. We did not evolve. Finish and clod.
Now he's taking Roger Federer on a tour of Ikasi, you understand? And he's telling him, Mrojisto manch. Black people do that. Sbuda, you didn't decide your nickname. Black people gave you a nickname and that was it. There was nothing you could do. That's part of our Ubuntu. We give you a new name. Estratin. Roger Federer's got a new name. He didn't argue. Siya Kolisi didn't ask him for permission. He just said, you are now this guy. Okay? Clean. That's it.
Imagine that. This guy is, he might be taking some substances or he's simply trolling. If he's not, then maybe he may be mentally unwell. He has this to say still.
So we need to see more black people doing what Siya Kolisi is doing, taking these white people, teaching them our culture, teaching them how to be civilized human beings the same way we are, giving us our values of Ubuntu, and we'll create the best whites in the world.
What a character. Our culture. That is the epitome of civilization. The world will come to an end if white people start doing what most of our black people are doing. It will be over. In closing, listen to the one time that our dear podcaster said something.
I'm very grateful to my mother. She sent me a very long, encouraging message, saying that she watches all the episodes, she wishes God can bless us. She's like, one day now, melubene show yako ufane nabo Trevor Noah nabo. My mother lives in her own world.
You're
Sorry.
brilliant, bro. It's true. I mean, I've just been watching this monologue. Sometimes it's interesting to just watch you. Some things I don't agree with you on, but it's just beautiful to just watch your mind run and just hear you express yourself. It's beautiful.
No, thank you.
And she's telling the truth, bro.
No, thank you. Like it was. I mean, that's what my parents discuss when they discuss. Oh, my mother will always say, "Did you tell your son that you love him?"
You're brilliant, bro. It's true, says the podcaster. That is the only thing he can add to the conversation. DJ Sbu. Awa, this is a real embarrassment. Let me tell you why I say this. These racial tensions we see online right now would not be if it weren't for people like Julius Malema, Andile Mnitama, Rutendo, and this guy on this show, as well as many other racist people like them. Knowing everything we know about the current racial climate in South Africa, DJ Sbu gives such foolish voices a platform to fan that dangerous flame, and he does not push back at all. What a shame. This guy sees citizens as inferior to him. He sees them as good as animals, not as a metaphor, but literally. He believes and tells the nation this nonsense and nothing will happen. These two men are so irritating and I cannot continue anymore. So that's it for today. Please like, share and subscribe. If you would like to support the work that we do, please join our membership, buy our t-shirt or donate to our accounts. All the details in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Katlego. This is Citizen Concerned. And until next time, beware of the comrades.